This is Jermaine. This is Jake's brother, who he sees in a dream, and he decides to go visit him because he's like, hey, I haven't seen him in a while, and Finn comes along, he's technically his brother too, and they go and find out his life is really stressed out, doing all sorts of very surreal things, keeping out demons, stopping this big blue blob from getting out to take his poster, and they show him a little bit of a good time. They acknowledge he's really stressed out, he needs to relax a bit, and but that sort of leads to some tension when they screw up and some of the demons are getting in, and he finally starts going off the deep end with all his pent-up rage and starts really cracking at Jake and saying he was the favorite one and stuff. Place catches fire, hand fire, and they say they gotta stop it, and he says, nah, let it burn. He's actually kind of happy it's all gone. And then the blue blob gets out, has his poster. They just walk into the forest, chatting up a probably meaningless conversation. The age-old tale. No, I actually, I strangely really like this one. And again, it kind of like the last one, I can't say it's something where it's like, oh, it's clearly blank. You know, I can just say there's certain elements of it that I just kind of pick up and I see and I really like. Especially, like, I don't know, I've known people that have had, like, jobs or responsibilities that are just the worst. And I've known some people that just, like, are super positive, super happy about it, and just maybe they cry at night, I don't know, but they just stay super, super positive about it. And then others that just very understandably are just super stressed out, and when you see how they live their lives, it's like, man, like, you get it, and you don't always know if you can do anything. Sometimes you make it better, sometimes you make it worse, but it's like, man, you just get it when you see their life. You know, they have to do certain things over and over. So, yeah, it's, and I don't know, seeing him, like, watch that place burn, but not only is he happy, he's kind of crying over, you know, it sort of all going up. And it's his way of to kind of let this all go. And maybe start anew, I guess. Even though it's stuff that obviously is very valuable because it's their father's stuff. But at the same time, he does these weird things, like keeping this monster in this blue cage by this Teddy Ruxpin doll, and he has to keep switching the tape around, and this one seemed particularly surreal. Like, there's episodes where it's like, oh, well, this is just weird and dreamlike and nothing else. It's just a, you know, test in surrealism. You know, this one, it's like, hey, there's this plot, clearly, and there's these ideas and messages we're trying to get across, but it's through the strangest things that they have to do. Even, like, in the opening, like, Jake opens up the little cooler there, and there's, like, people's heads that, like, they drink out of, and they have to take the tape off the mouth to have, like, steam come out and get water, and even when they're going to the brother's place, like, there's this little creature that was, like, his tail was harpooned, and he's just trying to get out, and it's like, what was the story with that?
Well, don't you remember the harpoon shot out of their house?
Oh, is that what that was?
Yeah.
The harpoon? Okay, yeah. But even that poor little thing, it's like, what even was that thing? It's just like, and even those, it's just those weird demons outside, I don't know, and that, even the hand, he's like, you know, throws this small little hand, it turns into this big tree hand when it catches fire, it has a fire hand, it just seemed so surreal, you know, and even that blue blob, and why they want the poster, and why is it important keeping him away, I really dug it, though. I really liked all the, like, even though it didn't always make sense, you know what it was kind of trying to get across and what it was trying to do. You know that getting the poster is like, it's like a big deal, but it's also not a big deal. You know, you kind of get, like, he really wants it, and he's like, dude, if you just act cool, I would have given it to you, but no, you have to act like a jerk, whatever, and so he sort of dooms into eternity in this little blue ball, but then he gets out, and it's like, he's got the poster, it's like, oh, well, they just sort of talk, they go into the forest together, and I don't know, it was just so strange, but had so many elements that, like, I recognize from real life, you know? It's very, very, I don't know. I really liked it. I sort of like these episodes. I can't quite pinpoint or say why they work, or even if they work, but they still, like, just leave an impact. So, Yeah, that's my thoughts. How about you?
Well, for one, I just want to bring up a few things. One, Jermaine is voiced by the voice of Greg Universe from Steven Universe, and Willie Nelson from...
Yeah, that was the first, because I said I think that's the father from Steven Universe. It's like, oh, I knew him as Willie Nelson. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? It's like, oh, Aqua Teen Hunger Force, okay.
Well, I saw that years ago, and Steven Universe is newer, so I'm not used to that. But, so there's that. Two, Final Fantasy VII Cloud's Buster Sword.
Yeah, that big
makes
sword.
an appearance, and it's the, pretty much the exact sword, which I think is cool. I'm also think it's a slight nod to Luigi's Mansion. When Jermaine pulls out the vacuum.
Yeah.
I think it's a slight nod to that as well. Now, for me, watching this, it shows just how much kind of an asshole their father was. I mean, it was already kind of shown before he wasn't the nicest guy. But think about it. He's like, give me my cup back. I want my cup back. That's all. The other one's like, can I have my poster? I want my poster. That's all they wanted. They wanted their stuff back. Their father... What are you doing, Kat? Went from to tech your camera.
There he is.
Oh, of course.
Oh, and there's a Jory there too. Cover your shame.
Sorry. But I mean, he just kind of seemed to go around taking stuff from demons, and then when the demons got pissed off, it was their fault, not his. And it's kind of douchey.
Yeah.
He stole this demon's poster, and he wants it back, and he's like, no, you can't have it, tough shit. It's like, wow, asshole. Think about it. If Jermaine gave back that one demon his DAT tapes, the demon would leave.
Well, I think there's something too. Yeah, it's kind of like taking on the responsibilities of the father.
Actually, I was going to say,
probably didn't even want, but it's like upholding that. So when the place is going up in smoke, it's like, well, it's just kind of what he didn't want anyway. And now he has this out.
See, for me, I saw the episode as a sins of the father. As in the sense of, should the sins of the father affect the son? All the things that their father did wrong and horrible and all that stuff is now on Jermaine. Every day he has to live with everything that their father did wrong. Including running down there at least twice a day to flip that tape. And it's like, should he have to do that because that's what his father did? He's saying they're valuable. He's saying they're they're worth something. But in the end, are they really? And it's like, let's say I did something horribly wrong. Should it affect Bree? And should Bree have to live with what I did?
Well, you even go to we're kind of... I'm sure every generation faces this, but I mean, what we're talking about now is hey, whatever, either our generation or the generation before is kind of screwed the next generation. That's one of the reasons there's not that many jobs and college costs even more, and it's you can't ever really pay off the loans and stuff. It's we have not left this where it used to be whatever, you graduate high school, or college, you go get a job. It's now that's not so easy, and on top of it, you paying an arm and a leg that you may never ever get back, you know? So it's one of those things. I'm hearing that more and more now, just how it's one generation has completely screwed the other. I'm not sure if it's our generation or the one after us or whatever, but one of us done fucked up.
I'll say this. I don't want to blame us. If anything, I'll blame the one before us. But we weren't all that great either.
I was going to say, I don't think we helped much.
But no generation is
great.
The
greatest generation.
It's every generation builds up and breaks down the previous generation.
Yeah, and every generation's got pros and cons and stuff like that. There's... The quote-unquote good old days always had a lot of shit, too. Oh, yeah. A lot of really terrible shit. I don't care
Back in the 50s, in the good old days, we used to beat our wives.
Yeah, we had racism to go around for everybody. Now it's the other way around.
I said beating the wives.
Now the wives beat us.
But no, for me, I saw it as, Jermaine has been forced by dealing with what his father did wrong or right in his eyes, and is forced to do this day in and day out, no matter what. If he just handed back everything that was stolen, he wouldn't have to do it. But because he believed in his father, and he loved his father, and he felt that this was important, he stuck doing it. And it stresses him out, and as you saw, he flips out in the end, going, "Oh my God, I want a normal life." Mm-hmm. You know.
Well, and something about that family connection too, where there is a sense of like, because you see people where it's like someone in the family may start to, something happens to their body or even their mind or something, and somebody has to go take care of them, and it's stressful, and it's so hard, and there's times where they just, like you saw there, like just crack, either when they're alone or when they're with somebody else. But it's still family, and for all we know, maybe the person didn't treat them well or doesn't treat them well, or vice versa. Maybe they're great, but it's like there's still always that connection. So it does always make it tricky when it's like, even if somebody's doing something really wrong or really bad, it's like it's still your blood, it's still your family, it's still who you grew up with, and it's. Even if it's wrong, it's still hard to make that separation.
See, I'm wrong. I disagree completely.
Really?
If your parent, brother, sister, whatever, treated you like scum for your entire life, and then all of a sudden they're on their deathbed, you're supposed to just be like, "Oh, it's okay."
Oh, no. Not supposed to. I didn't say it was supposed to. I'm saying that it's still tough. Even if, like...
Oh, see, not for me. I'm like, "You're a scumbag? Tough."
I mean, there's still a sense where it's like, it's... Maybe because, we are raised so much of what, even with different families and stuff like that, like what a family should be, and the support and the care and stuff like that, where if, you get that or you don't get that, it's one of those things where it's like, it's still your family, whether it's like, whether it's like a mental connection or a physical connection or whatever, there's always going to be a connection there, no matter how far you try to chop it off.
I'm trying.
It's kind of like, what was that you're always, it's like whatever religion you're raised with, even if you go to another or block it all out or whatever, there's always going to be that seed in there somewhere. It never truly leaves.
Well, yeah.
Kind of thing. Like, 'cause it's like the first thing you're introduced to. And it's like, no matter what, there's always going to be that connection. So I think even if somebody like does cut it off and be like, "No, I know this is wrong, I'm not doing it," it's that connection is still always going to be there. It's never quite going to leave. Even if it's like, it's not logical. It's like, hey, I know this person's doing wrong, I'm not going to follow that, I'm going to do the smart thing.
Yeah.
That connection, no matter what, even if it's small, is always going to be a connection, no matter what.
It could also be along the lines of, so let's say, I don't know, I started a video game company, and I'm doing really, really well, and I'm dying, and I leave it to Bree. Should Bree take on my job and my responsibility and run said company, or should she do what she wants? Mm-hmm. Should she follow in my footsteps because, I gave it to her and I started this and it's my follow in the footsteps of your parents or do what the hell you want to do?
Well, and then even then, that kind of like with this too, it follows with these other responsibilities of the people that person has impacted.
Yeah, exactly.
So like, she could go, it's such a weird example, but she could go and just like, do whatever she wants. I don't want to do this. I'm gonna, get rid of the company and do my own thing, or take it a totally different direction that, maybe it could bomb, but whatever. It's what I really want to do and always want to do. And like, you're putting these people's jobs at stake. If it, doesn't work, they're totally gone. But if you go the other route and be like, no, I want to do what my father did and continue the legacy and stuff, and maybe that's not what you want to do, and you could totally destroy your dreams and your life, dedicated to this. And then you're not even sure if you're good at it or not. You could totally bomb that too. So,
I think back to, we'll say, the good old days before us, where parents or, people started their own companies, built it up from the ground up and everything, and kept, like, passing it down to their kids, even though said kids maybe didn't want to do it, but they felt almost out of obligation that I have to keep said store running because this was my father's dream. Mm. And how much resentment can you build up working in a job you may not want to work in just because it was someone else's dream and not your own? Yeah. When do you forego and ignore someone else's dream to go after your own?
Yeah.
And I say follow your own dream. F everyone else.
Go for it. Make it happen. No, I think that's kind of the message of this one, or at least more what it's leaning towards, because you see the place burn up. Not only is he happy, but he's crying over it. Yeah. He's kind of just this flux of emotion.
What about the hand? As he reaches to the shelf, the hand hands him the shoe with the
I love that. Because at first I went, huh? And then you see it's a hand on the shelf, but it's like, for a second, you just see this hand hand him something. It's like, what the hell was that?
Sorry, I thought we'd ended on a fun note.
Yes. I guess we did get pretty deep in this one. So, nothing else to say, but there's a cat on the tripod. Yeah, you better run, cat!